happy middle of the year. Happy 2020 Part 2. Be happy. Alright, so here I am once again in my little home area with the blown out lighting. Thank you, Holly, for pointing out that I have blown out lighting. I don't know. It's part of the thing I do here, so I'm just going to leave it alone with the lighting. I played with the lighting a couple times and it got all screwy, so I'll deal with that later. Just hope everybody is doing well. I know I haven't been on the Facebook Live for a while, but I wanted to get back on today, being that there's so much going on. Just wanted to jump back into it. Can I crank up the volume a little bit? Should be able to hear me okay. Anyway, first off, I want to thank everybody who did get in on the first round of 8-Bit Cubist face masks. Those are completely sold out. Series 1 is gone. It was a test that I ran with Andrew and David Warano. They worked out fine. The printing on those came out great. The fit's good for most people. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a series 2 of those. I want you guys to be on the lookout for that. Follow the 8-Bit Cubist page if you're not there, and you'll definitely get notified there. And if I hit it up on Mr. Benja, then you'll be lucky if you hear it on there. I'll be sure to announce it, but since that is an 8-Bit Cubist specific product, you'll definitely hear about it on that page. So make sure you follow there. But yeah, I just got my Series 2 versions in. I went with some different colors this time, still the same basic bit pattern. Got a purple going on here. Got a purple kind of color. People really like the undersea ice color, the bluish color they did last time, so I'm doing something similar to that. Got a little orange color going on here. For those of you who haven't seen these, they're pretty comfortable and simple. A lot of the other ones have really contoured faces, and you can do that if you like. That's fine. I just decided to go with these. They're simple, easy to work with, flexible straps here, and pretty comfortable. So, if you want me to toss one on. Booyah, just like that. But these are coming from Series 2. And I'll release that sometime in the next week. So be on the lookout for that. And I decided to change up the style a little bit on this one. Instead of your basic pattern, something a little more colorful for you colorful types. Anyway, be on the lookout for those. Also, if you're popping through in the comments, let me know what you want to let me know what you want to hear about, because I'm just going to kind of riff a little bit, but I want to hear what you're thinking. How is your 4th of July going? How is everything going with you? So, 2020 Part 2 is upon us. We're already 6 months through the year, and it's been crazy. It's been crazy. Don't try to act like it hasn't been. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is staying healthy, not just physically, but mentally. I know being cooped up is really difficult, so be sure that you're taking care of yourself in different ways. Be sure that you're keeping your communication up. They say social distancing, but that's really only physical distancing. So make sure that you're really keeping in contact with people, using all this technology and tools we have, and keeping connected. What's up, Tyson? Good to see you here. And if you're not an introvert like me, you really need to get up to speed with the technology and getting out in terms of talking to people, using social media properly. Don't just get on to argue about politics or religion or gender, sex, whatever. If you're just getting online to argue, then you're probably not in the best mental health you can be. Get on there, learn how to communicate, have fun. It takes practice, actually. I mean, it really does take practice, but I'll talk about that more in another day. For right now, I want to get back on this freedom and independence thing and where I'm going with this. So, every year the whole freedom, what does it mean to be free, what does it mean to be independent thing comes up. And I realized I never talked about that myself as an artist and a developer. So in the game industry, in coming up in programming and all that, there are these very defined paths you should take. They're like, go to school, get a good job, um, find your way, find somebody to work for, find somebody to work with, and it seemed to me to be very very constraining, and nobody ever really teaches you how to just get out there and be free and do what you want in a safe and responsible fashion. I made plenty of mistakes because no one taught me or even wanted to show me the safe and responsible way to get out there and try things. I made some money mistakes. I made some, you know, money progress. Some things with just the way I do business. I've lost some friends. I've gained some friends. It's a treacherous road because freedom, independence really isn't taught to you. You just kind of have to go learn it on your own. I shouldn't say it's not taught at all, but it's not taught in the mainstream. And that's primarily because the mainstream, and I don't mean the Fox versus MSNBC type of mainstream, I just mean the standard is to go along with what everybody else is doing and you'll be fine. And that's the easier route, but independence, freedom, doing what you want comes at a cost. You have to get out there and go away from the prescribed norms. So around Sony Santa Monica, good company, the last major game company I worked for, and that was several years ago. And at that point, I was getting back into the job hunt of looking for another job, another design gig to get into, and I wasn't feeling it. I thought I had a lot of really good ideas, and the places I'd worked, I'd done good jobs, but within those systems, they really want you to play the game their way. And regardless of how well you did or how, how profitable or whatever your project was, they really get wrapped up in doing things their way, doing things in a certain pattern. And that's much of the world. And, my direct parents, they simply didn't instill that in me. So I find it hard to come to grips with trying to just do everything the way that people wanted me to. And I'm not just being weird to be weird. If you know me, then you'll understand that there's a method to the madness. There's things that I'm trying to do, and it seemed really problematic to me when I tried to do something different, and everybody fought against me. And I'll give you a real example of that. When I was in college, going for my master's degree in computer science at Michigan State University, I was doing all my schoolwork. I was having I was doing all my schoolwork, getting connected with the Professional Development Center, talking and working with all these different companies like Motorola, Microsoft, some different tech institutions. And they have their thing, and I understand they want you to do things a certain way, and that's fine. They're their companies. It's fine for them to promote their patterns, their way of working. I have no problem with that. My problem came about with the school itself, and I shouldn't say the school, schooling itself. They're not so much about getting you to learn as they are about getting you to follow this pattern that they've got set up so that they can get money from the Microsofts, the Pfizers, the Eli Lillys, the 3Ms, the Motorola's, and so on. So although I was in the process of building all of these connections and workplace interactions, anytime I brought up like, hey, I'm working on this DirectX project and working on this OpenGL project on my own, I tried to show it to somebody, they would immediately say, oh, okay, does Motorola use OpenGL? Why are you looking at that? Are you going to be able to get a good job with that? Are you going to be able to... And it stopped being so much about a concern, and it started being much more about a, gosh, I was about to say oppression, but that's really not the word I want to use. It just became this heavy burden of playing the game their way. And I remember I turned down an interview with a large company and said, hey, somebody else should get this interview. And I actually had a professor that I looked up to standing in the hallways in public of Michigan State University, standing in the hallways of the computer science department, yelling at me to get back on task, to make sure that I'm playing the game. And he told me, he yelled out loud, Mr. Johnson, you're throwing your career away. And it actually hurt, because I liked the dude and I respected him, and he's telling me I'm throwing my career away. So what do you do with something like that? When you're trying to do something different, and instead of getting support in a place where I'm paying to go to the school, I'm paying for them to help me out. I didn't think I was paying to be, railed off into this path that just wasn't very exciting to me. So, I got kind of upset. I was like, hey man, why are you attacking me like this? I've been asking for your help in doing these projects for a while now, and this is what I get. So I don't know what types of issues you've had against doing your own thing and trying to learn and be productive or whatever, but this has been a constant theme for me. So after Sony Santa Monica, I kind of stopped and sat back and said, you know what, this is a repeating pattern of something I just don't agree with. So anytime there's a repeating pattern, it needs to be addressed. So I went and addressed it. I really started doing the independent route, the indie circuit. I don't want to say indie, because if I say indie, people are thinking I'm making a independent video game, and I'm not there yet. That still may happen. I have ideas for that, but indie games is a whole different thing. And right now I'm focusing on art, creativity. I was doing consulting, but I kind of stopped, pulled back on that. Doing different projects now. So being alone in your ideas and your thoughts means you have to come from a completely different angle now. Now you have to really start creating and putting out some concepts, some ideas, gather some support for your different projects. For those of you who have been to any of the 8-Bit Cubist shows, we had exhibitions at PAX East in Boston. We had a presence at PAX Prime in Seattle. We did WonderCon. We did some minor gatherings at the San Diego Comic Con. Not official capacity at the Comic Con, but we were there. So now, having done that, and then balancing the 8-Bit Cubist thing with the Mr. Benja thing, creating different brands, I'm now on to some other thing now, because of COVID, because of the coronavirus. The gallery scene got shut down pretty much full scale, and it leaves me with the question of what to do now. What are you going to do now? I know I have to do something different. What are you going to do different? And it's as good a time as any to really consider that, because if you know me, you know I'm all about New Year's resolutions and changing things up, trying different things, growing, building every year. But you got to adapt. Now we're in a different situation. We're in a different time. We're in a different environment. And the only way to survive is to adapt. And you especially have to adapt if you plan on thriving. So what am I doing? I'm still going to keep doing the art. In fact, I just rebuilt my art studio. I'm still going to be doing that, but that's more of a passion project. That's more of a personal thing. I'm going to start leaning harder on my writing and my storytelling. Why would I do that? Because it's easier to get out to people. It's easier for me to transfer story ideas, to transfer images and everything through Transcendent Press. So I actually have that page set up. I haven't put too much energy into it. Most of my energy has been going into the 8-bit Cubist, and that'll still continue. But I'm going to be putting a lot more effort into building Transcendent Press. So, what is Transcendent Press? If you haven't checked it out, I do have a page for it. I wiped the old website and restarted it. It's just transcendentpress.com. This is the logo for it on this fancy shirt right here. And as you can see from the logo, it's a rising T shape. It's all about transcending, rising above bullshit, keep going up. And I primarily was releasing a bunch of zines on it, but I'm going to start putting out more of my stories. In fact, if you can see that blown out image back there in the back, that is Transcendent Press. That's a poster I did of Nexus, one of my characters. And she's kind of this Earth Nexus. She's the Nexus between the Earth realm and some other realms. But she knows about when people are going to die and expire, because once you die, you transfer to the Death realm. So she knows about that. Anyway, we'll get into all that later. But it's a whole story vibe I've got set up. And it's all about, at its core, it's about rising above the bullshit. And I really want to continue with that. And I didn't know if this was actually a thing that I could do until I ran into Holly. I mentioned Holly before because she was complaining about the blown out lighting. But she is actually a writer, and she used to work with a publishing company. Her name is Holly Stacy. She has this book, Fairy Conspiracies, and she's written some other books. But she actually tracked me down at an art show. And it was an interesting little art event that I did where I brought one painting. And she actually came by and wanted to talk to me because I was the guy who brought one painting instead of a whole wall full of paintings. I just brought one singular painting. And she thought it was interesting, talked to me. I find out she's a writer. And she starts asking me about writing, and I showed her some of my zine work. So once I did that, that kind of gave me the legitimacy of, well, if this publisher who's seen so much writing and everything is kind of into my stuff, then she'll definitely have some insight on it. So we started a writing group in Long Beach. We started sharing ideas with each other, building on things, and I've been perfecting my writing craft for the past 2 years now, 3 years now. I've been working on writing. I haven't shown much to many people. Some of you may have seen my work, but a lot of you haven't. But now's the time for it. I think people need to hear good stories. I think people need to hear positive stories that aren't goofy. I'm not on some goofy nonsense, but I do want to get these ideas out there. And if you remember from the sketchbook process podcast that I did, I do keep around a lot of ideas. Same thing with my writing. I keep all these ideas around and they build on each other. So I'll be doing that. And in fact, I can show you one of my zines right quick that I just printed out for test purposes. Let's see. So yeah, the zines are basically miniature magazines. They're quick ways to get information out to people. That's one of my little logo pamphlet flyers that I pass out. Write little short stories. I'm going to be posting these to the website, so if you go to transcendentpress.com, you'll be able to put in your email address and know when the site fully goes live. That'll be happening sometime within July as I change over. But this is a bunch of characters that I sketched out at one point. These are all going to be coming into story form. I'm not making a graphic novel, if that's what you're wondering. But I do, coming from video games, I do tend to draw out images of what I'm thinking about before I get into the actual nitty-gritty of the story details. It helps me write, it helps me think. So I'm going to keep on doing that. And as I said, it may be new to a lot of you out there, so I don't want you to be freaked out that I'm getting into the writing thing. But, you talk about writing manuscripts and having actually practiced. This is not something I've just kind of fallen upon, and this is all stuff that I've been writing. And I have more than this, actually. This is just one stack that I have. Writing, editing. It's crazy. Thanks, Adrian. Glad you liked the shirt. I will definitely be having shirts and merchandise that go along with these stories. So what I want to do, instead of just like, writing stories and kicking out little books and everything, I want to have the idea wrapped up in the concept of these characters representing concepts, these icons, these images. So there's going to be a large merch component going along with it, and of course, people know that I do the art; they'll expect that. So I'll definitely be having shirts and things out. Thought I had another shirt around here, but I think it's in the laundry right now. So this is my way of working on my freedom, getting my stuff out there. The world changes. I can't sit around waiting on the world to get back to the way I want it to be. I have to adjust. I have to adapt. That is one reason why you're even seeing me on here in the first place. I don't typically like jumping online and talking to people and being out and out with the public and everything, but we have a need for it, and I'm here to build and to create. So right now the situation is you build and create, and you have to do that in public. You have to talk to people. That's kind of how the way it is right now. I don't have the name of somebody who has, some people just have the ability to go release stuff and not worry about social media. I got to worry about social media. So I'm going to be doing more of this more often, hopefully. If you're down with it, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. I want to get back to it. That's what I'm doing, but I want to make sure everybody is being free and being independent in their own thoughts. If you're on Twitter, you're on social media, I can almost guarantee you've hesitated in posting something because you weren't sure what people were going to think, how people were going to react, whether it was going to get shared, misunderstood, whether it was going to go viral and that wasn't your intent. I get it. It's a problem. The technology has moved so fast that we're not accustomed to really understanding how to deal with it. The technology is passing us by in terms of a large social sense. So we have to learn how to embrace it. We have to understand that, this guy misunderstood what I said. Let me throw a happy face emoji in there, and we'll see what happens. Maybe he'll understand it better. Maybe if I like his post before making a dissenting opinion, he'll understand that I'm not trying to attack him. So, however it works for you, I'm all about being happy and free and independent and all that jazz online. I don't want anybody to feel they need to censor themselves, but I want to make sure we're all growing here. So I'm doing my part. I'm going to be bringing out these stories. Of course, I'll still come online and talk directly about things. If you want me to come in here and talk about race, we can do that. I'm really not afraid to talk about that. It's typically not in my arsenal. I don't typically run out doing that, shooting off at the mouth on different topics. I read it all, I think about it all, I discuss it all, but I really don't put it out there as part of my platform. But with these stories, I hope to provoke thought in those directions, because I think it's irresponsible not to address so much of what's going on. Black Lives Matter, Chaz, the protest, the tearing down of the monuments, the idea that all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. I think there's a ton of misunderstanding in all of these topics, but the very nature of just discussing them is so problematic to people that I wanted to do it in a less abrasive way. If you ever jump at me in the DMs or on a post, I'll be sure to talk to you openly and freely about all these topics, but I don't want to just jump on and be that guy posting links from this left-wing group, say the Young Turks or whatever, or this, right-wing, more conservative Prager University or whatever. I don't want to get into those arguments. I don't want to get into link battles. I just want to have more open thoughts and discussions on getting better, whatever that means. And I realize that my better may be your worse, and your worse may be my better, but that's the whole point, to discuss these things. And largely because I don't feel like talking about a lot of this stuff with you directly. I will if you contact me, but I'm going to put a lot of this stuff out in story form, see how it goes, put a lot of my characters, and hopefully I'll just get people thinking. If you think back to the original Star Wars, it amazes me how people from most sides of the social spectrum could agree with what was going on in Star Wars. And they'll say, yeah, I agree. I love Star Wars because of my personal political views on this, and it matches up with that. And somebody on the opposite end will say the same thing. That amazed me as a kid. So I want to get back to some more of these very human concepts and see what I can touch on without, I don't want to say without saying anything, because I definitely have opinions and I want to say stuff, but the point isn't to make somebody else wrong. The point is to do better in this more connected society. That's something we really got to work hard at. I've had friends who got written off for the very just dumb shit. I literally saw a post of over 100 back and forth replies to a guy who started a discussion about flat Earth. I don't care what you think about flat Earth. There is no reason to be on Facebook having a 100 reply discussion about flat Earth. And, friendships are lost over this. Someone thinks someone else is a bozo because of this. You're wasting bandwidth because of flat Earth arguments, bullshit discussions. Just not necessary. If you look back, I posted tips for Facebook health. I need to really go ahead and put that into a zine or a book form so I can just let people know what I do to get over some of this. But anyway, whole bunch of bullshit, whole bunch of stuff going on. It's 2020 part 2. Change your game, adapt, change your life. Level 2 is not the same as level 1. You're going to have to change up what you do. You're going to have to change up your inputs if you want to get different outputs. You're going to have to do some different things. I'll keep on doing these every so often. Comment, like, share, let me know. I'm also going to be cleaning these up a bit and kicking them off to YouTube. So you can go to YouTube now if you'd like to get your podcast that way, or if you'd like to get your podcast through Stitcher, iTunes, and all that. I do kick these thoughts out to iTunes. It's kind of hard to find, actually. My SEO is all terrible on finding the actual podcast, but I'll put a link for it after this, and let's see, what else is there? You can always find me at MrBenja.com, and you'll find links to everything I'm doing, so that's always going to be a spot. But thanks for listening in. I hope you have a good 4th. I hope you're building your independence and your freedom properly. I hope you're not sitting on your couch seething in anger about something you saw on TV, because you can do better than that. So, for now, just hope everybody's doing good. Get at me. Follow along. I will talk to you all later. Thank you.